the timing and the place of the message. Rasulullah delivers this message of the imamat of Amirul Mu'mineen in a place known as Ghadir Khum. They mention 120,000 people attended that Hijjatul Wida, that final Hajj. 120,000 was a grand number. Sometimes you would have entire cities whose population was 10 or 20,000. At that time, 120,000 people are performing the Hajj with Rasulullah. Rasulullah decides to deliver the message in Ghadir Khum. A person asks, or a person may ask, Ya Rasulullah, why didn't you deliver the message in Makkah? Why wouldn't you deliver the message in Arafah? Is there any better place to have delivered the message of the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen inside of Makkah, by the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The best place on earth, the symbol of Tawheed is there. Rasulullah, despite knowing the sanctity of the land of Makkah, Rasulullah didn't make the announcement of the imamat of Amirul Mu'mineen in Makkah. Why? Lest this command of the imamat of Amirul Mu'mineen becomes diluted in the many other rulings that the Prophet was delivering in regards to manasikul Hajj. So there were so many messages that were coming out from Rasulullah towards the masses in regards of how to do tawaf, in regards of how to do sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and all the manasikul Hajj. Within all this information, if the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen was also announced, the message, number one, could have been diluted. Number two, people would have said, they would have sidelined the message by saying, no, Hajj is more important than the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen. So Rasulullah ensured he selected a time and a place where, the key word, where the announcement of Amirul Mu'mineen would gain exclusivity. Exclusivity in announcing the imamat of Amirul Mu'mineen. Number two, location. You find even in real estate, and even when it comes to opening up businesses khasatan that are there in retail and so on and so forth, what are the three things you are told? Location, location, location. Location is key to everything. Rasulullah chooses Ghadir Khum. This Ghadir Khum, which is a central gathering point on the route for people who are returning back from Makkah after completing the Hajj. The final point, from Ghadir Khum, everybody begins to separate and disintegrate. From Ghadir Khum, those people who are going to Hijaz or continuing on to Medina will take a different route. Those who are going on to Egypt, Misr will take a different route. Those who are going to Yemen will take a different route. This is the final point where everybody is one. Rasulullah reaches Ghadir Khum. He stops. People have gone forward. It's 120,000 people. People have gone as far forward as Juhfa. Rasulullah stops and he sends a messenger. Those people who have gone to Juhfa, call them back. Juhfa was 7 hours distance from Ghadir Khum. They were so ahead in the journey from Juhfa to Ghadir Khum, traveling on a camel, ajalakumullah, or a donkey at a normal average speed is calculated to be 7 hours distance. So you can imagine Rasulullah has stopped in Ghadir Khum, waiting for all those people who are at the back to catch up with him. Those who are gone ahead into Juhfa, retract, come back, retrace your steps. 7 hours. There are people waiting inside of Ghadir Khum. The Prophet made the people wait for 7 hours until those who have gone to Juhfa come back. If you look into the books of history, what is apparent is that from the 120,000, it's not a far-fetched conclusion that 80,000 people were already inside of Ghadir Khum. And the Prophet has made 80,000 people wait so that the other 40,000 can come. Just convey the message to the 80 and they will convey it to the remaining 40. Abadan. Rasulullah makes them wait for 7 hours. human psychology, for this grand message that is coming, Rasulullah is creating a sense of anticipation within the hearts of the people. This is Rasulullah, Sayyidul Balagha. Look at all these tactics and these skills that he has used. Exclusivity of a message, location of the message, creating an anticipation towards the message. People from Juhfa come back. This area of Ghadir Khum was an area where water used to collect. The water used to collect in a valley. This valley, what is understood from Kitab al-Ghadir and other secondary texts, is that it was a valley. It would not be far-fetched to say it was the size of a football stadium. But valley enclaved inside. For the people were seated around the valley. Rasulullah stands in the center of the valley with Amirul Mu'mineen. Yani, in addition to creating anticipation and the location and the exclusivity of the message, the Rasulullah was orally going to convey the message, but he stands and makes himself the center of attention so that you engage the people through sight and through hearing. Rasulullah not only made sure that the message reaches 120,000 people through kalam, he positioned himself inside of Ghadir Khum, in the center of the valley, so that people could see him as well as hear him. They could see Amirul Mu'mineen. Not somebody comes tomorrow and says, we couldn't recognize Amirul Mu'mineen by appearance. Rasulullah eliminated any sort of hujjah if it came to saying we didn't know. Strategy of Rasulullah, in addition to everything that he has done, made himself the center of attraction and the location and exclusivity of the message and creating the sense of anticipation. Rasulullah selects the time of the day that has extreme heat. The narrations mention that Rasulullah delivered a khutbah that was 3 hours long. It was not in the nature of Rasulullah to deliver a sermon so great. If you return back to the books of Seerah, you will find that majority of the historians are of the opinion, and from the sermons that have reached us, that the sermons of Rasulullah never exceeded more than half an hour to an hour max. Mostly they would not exceed half an hour. Rasulullah here makes an exception. The khutbah of Ghadir lasted for 3 hours. And that even in the heat, at its peak, it's the time of Zawal, the sun is overhead. Ajib. Ya Rasulallah, wa ma arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alameen. We didn't send you except that you are a source of mercy. Their feet were burning. Why? After everything Rasulullah did, he ensured that for a period of 3 days, the people would give bay'ah, pledge allegiance to Amirul Mu'mineen before dispersing and leaving for their homes. Even if a person slept through everything, even if a person couldn't hear and couldn't see, even if a person passed out in the heat of that khutbah, he had no excuse to say that we didn't know about the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen, because finally when he would wake up or whatever happened, he couldn't leave Ghadir Khum until and unless he pledged his allegiance to Amirul Mu'mineen. This one word from within the Quran that Allah Azza wa Jal uses, balligh, convey. Look at the pain that Rasulullah went through to deliver this message of the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen. Look at how everything was meticulously planned by the Prophet of Islam. And after all this, he says, and convey this message to those who are not present.